Okay, now it's time to reintroduce a special guest I've had on my show before. Well, I have Delta joining me on my show. His real name's Rob, but we call him Delta, um, better known as Delta in the music world. Joining me on my show today, how are you, Delta?
Good. Hi, Daddy. Very nice to be here.
Yeah, great to have you back. I have read so much about you since last time. You know, you grew up with music at a young age. You started off into the music world, into the sunset, and you also have a bit of Greek heritage in your
Yeah.
roots. You know, Delta, is that kind of connected with that root?
Yes, exactly. So I'm half Greek, half English. So my dad is from Athens, my mom is from Manchester. So I've been always traveling back and forth from the UK to Greece. And yes, essentially Delta. I mean, it's I love the letter because in maths it represents change.
Mm,
Um, and I love that concept. And I used to see it because in Greece, many different, businesses and stuff use deltas. I used to like see it around all the time. And I just felt a really strong connection to it. And the reason why there is a three in the name, because it's D3LTA, that's how it's spelled, is because it's the Greek E sort of turned around.
that's a really clever twist. It does stand out as well. Very unique. So, you have been performing like music, as I says, growing up, and you've done like sold out rock shows. You've had your song played on the radio. You don't just stick to one genre as well. You kind of like to experiment in different fields as well, which is good because some artists they just like to be comfortable in one zone, don't they?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I tend to not have a preconceived idea of what I want a song to be. I just sort of write and anything, and I just follow where the song wants to go.
Hmm.
So that's the songs have been quite different. But that being said, I mean that has been the case up to now. But it's an interesting exercise that for the first album that I'm working towards now. I'm starting to, try to confine for at least for this album, the sound to be, let's say, at a particular spectrum. Again, that there would be, it's not one sound. It has
Yeah.
like different sounds. It's not like from very heavy rock to very pop, all the way there. And I think that's interesting as well. It's like forcing yourself to create. Okay, what if I create within this frame and I use these instruments? What would I create with this? And then in my next album, I could say, okay, what if I change this up? And I, use electronic sound or use something very different,
Mm.
um, which is amazing because it allows me to like really delve into a sound and explore different variations of it.
Mm. I
Yeah,
know. I know some artists don't like to genre-lize. You know, they do the
yeah,
music, and what they produce is that identity.
exactly,
Mm.
exactly, yeah,
Cool, cool. So I'm here to talk about really mainly your new single. It's called "Happy Out of Love." I've had a
yeah.
listen to it, and it's one of them songs where you listen to it first time and you instantly take a shining to it. Some songs you have to listen to them time and time again for it to grow on you. But I listened to this first time, and I was instantly hooked.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So tell me just a little bit more about this song. Is it a little bit bittersweet? Is it in places?
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, it's what it says on the tin, really. So it says a song about being happy out of love, and I wrote it after a relationship ended that was supposed to end probably a long time before it actually did. And it's one of these things that when it ends, you suddenly feel very relieved. So I remember like this feeling of waking up in the morning, and be like, okay, it's so amazing. I used to like put music at home and just dance around because I felt this freedom. That's such a liberating feeling if you because especially it's very easy if you're in a relationship to just stay in, and if it's a toxic relationship for a long time and just feel sort of caged in a way. And and i and it's funny because I wrote this actually. I was traveling back and forth from Greece to London, and I was in London at the time. And my manager, to give a bit of a backstory, called me up and told me, we need a new song, a pop song like Strange. And I told him, you know what? It doesn't work like that. I can't just write another pop song. I can't just write another hit just because, on demand. And it's okay, just try it. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, thanks for the advice. And I remember I was alone in the hotel room, and a friend of mine called me up because it was his birthday, like a week after. He's like, "Oh, your ex is going to be at my party. Just you should know that she's going to be there because even after we had broken up, like there was this drama like ongoing for like months on end." Anyway, so I started writing this song, like more as a sort of bittersweet song towards her. I wasn't thinking, oh, this is like a pop song. On the contrary, I think in my mind it was an anti sort of pop song, just sort of writing some stuff about her. But it's bittersweet, but it's also it was supposed to be, humorous and funny because like there are some lyrics in there. So you have I think the radio edit that doesn't have maybe it has chopped the first verse or something, but even I used to want to buy you flowers. Now you're never on my mind. Like stuff like that, that are supposed to be, or in the second verse, I know you think a couple of drinks will then be pretty harmless, but you'll misbehave and say that you've changed. And what do I think about us? Well, frankly, my darling, I don't think anything about us, baby. Like, it's just those lyrics that are meant to be just like a very slight stab, but more funny,
Yeah.
actually being mean.
Brill. And so you are coming onto a UK tour anytime soon. You'll probably be
Yeah.
touring when this interview goes out. But the Scouting for Girls sound, that 2000 sound, the student sound, like the indie sound, the proper indie sound. This single does kind of fit well under that umbrella.
Yeah, I mean, we're very lucky because, I mean, we knew that this was going to be the next single, but then the Scouting for Girls tour was confirmed later on. So I think we were very lucky in that respect as well that they were, willing to take us on board with them on the tour. And I'm super grateful because I've never toured the UK before, and especially with audiences of this size. So yes, I'm very much looking forward to it.
Um, and if you didn't mind me asking, how did that come about? Was it like a chance encounter?
Yeah, so actually, so Richard Engler, who's with my label in the UK, so he met, I think, the booking agent that booked the Scouting for Girls. So and they went for a coffee. And he just mentioned, "We'll have this artist I think would work really well for support." And the band then heard the new single and some other stuff. And I think that they, as you said, I hope that they love the new
Yeah,
single "Happy Out of
yeah.
Love," and they thought it fits with their sound. So it's a good sort of opening
Mm.
for their show.
Yeah, they are a household name, and I was chatting to someone the other day, like support acts. More people should, get to the concert early and support the support acts because they're branching out and they're the ones to watch because you never know down the line, they will be the main headline at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I just wanted to touch on, like, your musical taste as well. I know from your biog, you may be heavily influenced from the 1970s sound. A bit Bowie, that side of things.
Yeah, yes. So I mean, I I I grew up listening to all sorts of music, but I really delved in when I was 13 at Green Day. That's when I picked up the guitar and started like playing punk and
Mm,
stuff. But then I mean, when I was, let's say, more serious, like around, 17, 18, around music, I loved 70s sound because I think it's funny because if you listen to contemporary music now, you start going back and back and back, and you discover, what the artists that you are listening to now, let's say Green Day or Billie Eilish, where were they influenced from? You can go back and find all of these references way back in the 70s and 60s, which is super interesting. So yeah, I mean, I was super obsessed with Pink Floyd, very big influence, and especially their early stuff in Sid Barrett, which I've used. And that's the interesting bit. I've used parts of their 1967 Emily Play song. I've used references for Strange, and the backing and the way that they did the backing vocals, because I think those days people were so creative, and you can find literally in a random B-side song of a single or a record, you can find just such rich production, and the lyrics are also amazing. There's just so many things to draw from.
yeah, so true.
And I to Queen, and because I started listening to vinyls like 3 4 years ago, and I love that I put a record on and I listened to the entire thing front to back without skipping songs or sections because, and I found that there might be an outro from a song that I didn't even like, maybe the song, but the outro is amazing. And I use the outro to start a new song or be influenced, and write something, be inspired by it. So, yeah.
Nice, nice. Especially like ABBA as well. Appeals to the youngsters. All the youngsters know the ABBA songs.
I mean, I used to go with my mom and watch because she was obsessed with Mamma Mia, and we used to go all the time to watch Western musicals, and especially that one we've watched like 6, 7 times. And actually, for Happy Out of Love, the chorus that has so many BVs, I want because it felt to me like a musical, and I wanted like for this grander than life happy feeling, like it's loads of people in a room partying. I wanted to emulate that West End, you know, people singing in tandem
Mm.
feeling. And it's funny because when I was writing the song, even the augmented chorus before the chorus comes in, it's funny that you something feels right, but you don't know why. And then I found that ABBA actually used those chords all the time, and I hadn't used them in any other song I've ever written. And yeah, it's funny how those things
Yeah,
circle
yeah.
back.
Uh, and just finally, just touching on the 70s, well, you got to love a bit of disco as well.
Yeah, yeah, I think so that's because there's this bar in Athens, club actually called Cinderella, and it plays exclusively 80s disco music, 70s and 80s disco music. And I used to, before writing the song, I was very, it was my favorite place to go. So it must, because I wonder, like, where did that come from? And it must be from all of that, like, disco music, like, listening every time I went out, it used to be that. And I used to listen at home a lot to lots of disco music. And it's funny because and also I wanted this section to be quite different than the rest of the song. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's
Cool.
quite disco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just going back to your new single, Happy Out of Love, what I liked about the Scouting For Girls, they released some memorable videos. I still remember the She's So Lovely video to this very day. I still play it, like, when I'm doing my DJ sets. But is there a music video to Happy Out of Love as well?
Yeah. So have you watched the video for Happy Out of Love?
I will do.
You okay? Okay, yes, you haven't yet. Okay. So I mean, the videos to me are super super important because they complete the story of a song. So that's why I'm super focused and heavily involved in every video that we've done up to date. And for Happy Out of Love, actually, although it was a musical and I wanted people dancing and choreographed movements, I love the jungle music. Did you watch the jungle music video that they did for a song? Came out like a month and a half
Mm.
ago, I think. Like a one shot, people dancing, which was amazing. But also another reference that the director sent me that I absolutely loved was a Mika music video called "We Are Golden,"
Mm.
and he's just in his room dancing, and that's the whole music video. And I just loved it because it was so amazing. Just being silly in your house and just
Mm.
doing random stuff. So we did that for Happy Out of Love as well. So sort of these two influences
Yeah.
sort of combined.
I think that's what's missing in today's charts, especially here in the UK. The element of fun with music as well. It seemed music back 10, even 20 years ago was so colourful, wasn't it?
Exactly, I agree. I agree. And to be absolutely honest, with most of the songs I hear, they sound very similar to me. It's like the same song with different variations. And it's interesting because I can't tell who the artist is unless I know their voice really well or something, because it's not like it used to be the case that artists used to experiment a lot, and you could tell, okay, this is an Arctic Monkeys album, or a Black Keys album, or a Pink Floyd. Like they're just so different. Even if no one sang from the intro, you could tell it's in this area. It's like either this band or this band is really experimenting and copying whatever this band. But it used to be that they had unique sounds, whereas now I find that less people have a unique sort of stamp, if this makes sense, and just not to take a stab. So Sam Fender, for instance, is one of the artists that I love and has a very unique sound. So when a song comes in, I know it's his even before his voice kicks in. And that's what I love about him, or Nothing But Thieves. And I mean, and I mean to say that because there are artists now that are still making headway, but most of the pop sounds like BBC Radio 1 and stuff and BBC Radio 2 does sound very sort of similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. And back onto your websites now on social media. Are you on like the Instagrams and the TikToks and Facebook as
Yeah.
well, where people can follow you?
Exactly. So people can follow me on all those, and my thumbnail is "This is D3LTA," and that's the same on TikTok, same on Instagram, and on Facebook. So if you just type
Yeah.
"This is D3LTA," you should be able to
Yeah.
find it.
Well,
Yeah.
brilliant. Thanks very much for your time today. Nice to have an in-depth conversation, talk about music in general, and going to get your new single out on my show now. Would you just like to introduce it on my show?
Yes, I'd love to. Yes.
Please go ahead then.
So, hello everyone. So I'm Delta, and you're listening to "Happy Out of Love" on Danny
Yeah,
Sun's radio.
brilliant. That's a blast having you on today's show, Delta. We'll try and see you at, well, I'm going to see you at one of your concerts very soon, all right? So I'll look out for you, all right? Take care out there and have a good one.
Thank you very much. You too.